this is going to be fun, man. I'm really, really pumped, man. You guys have got me really excited. This training, though, I really feel like when you guys walk out of here, this training has the potential to make you different than you are right now. I mean, literally, I believe that you can walk out of here differently than you are right now. So I truly hope that, you know, that you take some serious notes, but really digest this information and really absorb it. So, you know, you can look back and say, hey, man, you know what? That was it. That was the moment in time that really I recognized was a turning point for me. You know, as I look back at my career, you know, I can strongly, you know, share with you that the fact that there's been moments in time where, you know, I was going in one direction and boom, you know, I was going in this direction because of training, because of information, because it was thought-provoking. It made me think. And how this book came about, I was telling a couple people earlier, but what happened was this book was actually suggested to me, or, you know, let me correct that. How I found out about this book, The Talent Code, was I was at my son's basketball, like basically like almost like a little workshop, you know, training type situation, almost like a practice. And I'm sitting there, and during a water break, a guy came up to me and he said, hey, have you read The Talent Code? There was standing there like next to me, this other father, and I said, no, I haven't read that. He goes, are you sure you haven't read that? He's all, because when I was listening to the way that you talk to your son, I thought to myself, this guy's had to have read The Talent Code. I'm like, no, I don't even know about it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to get it, obviously, to find out what you're talking about. So I got this book, and I started reading it, and I thought to myself, oh my God, this is wild. Because this is information that you can apply in all areas of your life. That was what excited me about it. As I started to read more and more and more, I go, I got to do a training on this for network marketing. This is perfect for our industry, because it really outlines exactly what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to achieve, you know, in secret. It does an amazing job of outlining that. So today I really hope that, you know, you listen to this information, but also say, hey, look, you know what, I could apply this in all of the different areas of my life. So this is a book, and what Daniel Coyle did, let's just go ahead and jump into this, Jeff, please, is as we move forward, is what happened was he just went around the world researching different people to try to find out what the underlying factors were. And one of the things he came across is this place called the Spartak Tennis Club. And it's basically, you know, the question is how a Russian tennis club that has one indoor court that has produced more top 20 women's players in the entire United States combined. How is that possible? Right? Let's move forward. As you look at it, just to give you an example of some of these people, Anna Karnikova, Alina, I'm not even going to try to say these names, Marat Safran, that one's easy, Dinara Safran, Anastasia Masinskina, Alina Dimitrovativity. You ever, like these guys, look at this guy. That looks like something's like, dang, dude. Is that right? You know what I mean? Yevgeny Kavanagh, this guy right here. But no, these guys are beasts in tennis. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, I don't know how to say their name. Doesn't mean that they're not any good at tennis. They're really good at tennis. I'm just not really, you know, really good at pronouncing these guys' names. But they're beasts, and they all came from that Spartak Tennis Club. And as you move forward, the next thing that you have to take a look at is this, is the Septian Entertainment Group. You know, the question is how does Linda Septian open a humble storefront music store in Dallas and produce all these, you know, pop phenoms? Like, give an example. People like Demi Lovato, Beyonce Knowles, Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson, Ryan Cabrera, Selena Gomez. So you look at these people and you're like, aha, she's responsible for all this, right? Who did that to us? Now, this is a wild one, because I know many of you are probably into English literature, but no. But the Bronte family, this guy, listen to this. How did Patrick Bronte, from a family of farm workers of moderate means in a small village in England, turn out three world-class writers, the Bronte sisters? All three of them became some of the greatest writers, I guess, in English literature. And this guy, you know, was basically a poor farm worker. You know, how did he do that? So this is kind of the question. And as we move forward, here's what you'll find out is the fact that the answer he calls talent hotbeds. He calls these places talent hotbeds, and hotbeds of talent where a lot of talent's produced in a small area. And when you look at the numbers, it's actually, you know, pretty much it's mathematically almost impossible that it could happen like that. And that's when I started reading this. It's like, why have we been able to sponsor so many people to do so well in this industry? And when you watch what he trains on, it's kind of the fundamentals of how you build a distribution network and how you become successful. But let's move forward. The answer is these talent hotbeds. But a talent hotbed, a prime example of talent hotbed would be South Korean, talent hotbed for ladies golf, right? Professional golf, the LPGA. But in 1998, many of you know, Siri Pak became the first South Korean women golfer to win an LPGA tournament. Now, guess what? 8 of the top 20 money earners in women's golf are all from South Korea. So why are all these South Koreans so good at golf, right? Well, that we're going to talk about that and see the influence she had on that. But let's move forward. Here's what I want you to take a look at as well: is the Dominican Republic is a talent hotbed for Major League Baseball, right? Ozzie Virgil Sr. on September 23rd, 1956, okay, became the first Dominican Republic Major League Baseball player. And now, as many of you know, Dominican Republic baseball players account for 1 in every 9 Major League Baseball players. So why are they able to produce all this talent, these talent hotbeds? So here's the question you have to ask yourself as we move forward. Is it a singular phenomenon, or can it be created? Can you recreate this? What would happen if you turned your organization into a talent hotbed where you started producing all this types of talent, where you just started helping people achieve massive success? And obviously, as you can tell, in our industry of direct sales, and network marketing, if you started producing all this talent, what would happen for you as a result is financially, it would be an amazing benefit for you, right? So as you look at it, these talent hotbeds absolutely can be created. So let's move forward and take a look at how this happens, okay? The talent hotbed, Gary McPherson, Gary E. McPherson, in fact, a lot of you know Jesse's dad. No, that's not Jesse McPherson's dad. Some of you are like, who's Jesse McPherson? Jesse McPherson, he's one of the top money earners in this company. But Gary E. McPherson, he's a psychologist of music at the University of Melbourne. He conducted a study for several years looking from where does extraordinary talent come from. And Gary E. McPherson, in this study that he did, came up with some unbelievable facts. And let's move forward. I want to show you what he found out. Gary McPherson found this out. He found out that there was a girl, her name is Clarissa, and she was able to achieve a month's worth of practice in 6 minutes. She was able to expedite the process of her growth an entire month in 6 minutes. How is that possible? And I'm going to outline what happened. But this 11-year-old Clarissa, she lacked musical talent, okay? But she became a famous figure in the world of music. So people in the music industry now know of this Clarissa in this study that Gary E. McPherson did out of Australia. But here's what happened: is she ignored the concept of inner gifts and started taking action through something called deep practice. So we're going to talk a little bit about deep practice and what that is. But here's what happened: is she accelerated her learning speed by, guess what, 10 times, okay? Every time she missed a note, she put aside the clarinet to look carefully at the note. Then she starts over and plays that riff from the beginning. She operated at the edge of her ability. And this study that he did shows the fact that skill and talent are created, not innate. And what happened was there was 2 different pieces that she did. One was called The Golden Wedding, and she picked this piece out. It's one of the hardest pieces in music to do. Very challenging. And then the other one is obviously the Blue Danube, which is a very easy music piece that, almost, that's like Mary Had a Little Lamb type situation, right? Very simple. But what happened is she played this Golden Wedding, and obviously she didn't do an amazing job, right? She was kind of butchering it, so to speak. But she would stop and she would kind of think, and then she would try it over again. And then she would stop and start over and try it over again. And she accelerated her growth so much. And what he found out in this is how you grow your skill set is by operating on the edge of your ability. You have to operate on the edge of your ability. If not, you're basically wasting your time in all areas of life. Everything that you do, you're either growing or you're dying. And in order to grow, you have to operate on the edge of your ability. That's getting out of your comfort zone. So let's move forward. Let's take a look at this. I want to share with you these 2 columns right here. And since we have time, we're going to take a minute here just to look at these 2 sets of columns. And I want you to memorize as many of these as possible. Don't write them down, Jeff, because I know Jeff's over here writing them all down, sneaky guy. No, but just look at these. Look at these and just try to memorize from this line and this line. And see how many you can memorize in 1 minute. Okay, now go back if you don't mind. Now here's what happens: is you look at those Now, if we went around the room and had you write down which ones you remember more, what they found out through the study on this is go ahead and move forward, is this column right here, 300% more words are memorized than over here. Why? Because it's missing a letter. So look, bread and what? Butter, but you have to think a little bit. Would you guys agree, right? Music and what? Lyrics, right? So you what is this one? Shoes and socks. So you memorize it because it's missing a what? Letter. So what happens is struggle is not something that's bad. Struggle is the only way to get better at anything. This is the key. Now let's move forward. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how this works. But basically, in this book, Daniel Coyle calls it the Clint Squint. So the Clint Squint, he goes, understanding deep practice. He says, operate on the edge of your ability. Watch this. Operate at the edge of your ability. Make mistakes. Slow down. Concentrate and try it again. Mistakes are good. That's how you become better. If you can't, in this book, the second book that I'm going to be doing a training on very soon, called The Little Book of Talent, the 52 Tips of Improving Your Skill Set. And also in the Talent Code, he talks about something called the sweet spot. And the sweet spot is where you want to be operating at. And that's where where you're having failure. If you're doing something and you're gaining more than 80% success at it, he says you're basically wasting your time. He says that growing a skill set is no different than growing your muscles. Okay? I know Paul knows about this. Okay? I can't speak from personal experience, but if you talk to Paul, he'll tell you that these muscles that he has, they don't happen by just going to the gym and looking at the weights. Does that make sense? You don't go in there and pick up a 1 pound weight and do some curls and all of a sudden you've got bulging biceps. Does that make sense? In order to gain muscle, you have to struggle. Do you guys get that? You have to push yourself and you have to operate on the edge of your ability. And when you work out, Paul will tell you that it's that last set. It's that last rep. It's that last one that gives you so much of your success. So it's pushing yourself. It's working to failure. So here's what he says: is you learn the most not by practicing effortlessly, okay, but stretching yourself at just the right point between what you know and what you're trying to get to. So here's where you want to be. Here's where you're at. That area in between, that's where the magic is, okay? So generate impulses yourself rather than just being fed information, studying and being tested multiple times rather than just studying. So he breaks this down, and we'll move forward and we'll talk about this, but you've got it, when you get like this and you're really focusing, that's where you want to be at. So let me give you an example about deep practice. We're going to talk about deep practice, but Simon Clifford, this guy's an English soccer coach, okay? English soccer coach. He went to Brazil to study Brazilian soccer and took what he learned and founded the Brazilian schools of soccer. So there's a place called the Brazilian Schools of Soccer in England. They have Brazilian soccer schools. This guy started it. And what he found out as you move forward, he studied these types of soccer champions over here, like Ronaldo, Neymar, Pele, Zico, Romario, all these great soccer people. And I don't know anything about soccer, but what I'll tell you is these people are really good at it, okay? And he found out, why are these people good at soccer? Clifford Simon did. And let me share with you what he found out. What he found out is something in deep practice. It's called futsal. And it was developed in Brazil in the 30s and 40s. So in the 1930s and 40s, they developed something called futsal, which is basically, I think they speak Portuguese there or something? Is that right? In Brazilian language, whatever it is they speak, Portuguese, right? Okay. This has to do with indoor, it's called basically indoor football. Okay. And basically in Brazil, futsal is played by more people than the actual soccer, but doesn't attract as many of the spectators as the outdoor sport. But what it is basically, imagine this. Imagine 5-on-5 football, or soccer, but they call it football, whatever. 5-on-5 soccer on a basketball court. What happens? There's a lot of action, right? You guys have watched soccer before. Probably some of you have even played it. What happens in soccer? It looks almost like a marathon, right? Just people just running around forever. Really not a lot of action, like, right? I mean, let's face it, okay? And then some of you are like, no, soccer's the best. And it is, right? It's great, but you have to agree with me. There's a lot of running around. It's like 6 miles of running around in an average little situation. So imagine condensing all that and just making it really meaty, all the action. You guys get that? And that's what they've done here. And what happens is it's more movement, it's more experience, it's more operating on the edge of your ability. Okay, so this is what they are able to do. Now let's move forward. Let's take a look at this. As you start to take a look at it, the actual scientific terminology for it is a myelin. Okay, and myelin, basically, this is a neuron right here, and this is a neuron over here. Basically, my mentor used to tell me, he says, you have 50 million nerve-ending brain cells. You have 50 million neurons or whatever. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, basically, for you, Tim, it's the largest area of unemployment in the world. But what happens is when your neurons fire, right? So everything is basically, it's an electrical signal. When your neurons fire and they do the same thing over and over again, what happens is these neurons fire, this myelin starts to get created. Basically like insulates the path so it can move faster. So let me give you an example of what happens is deep practice, deliberate practice is what we'll talk about later, but deep and deliberate practice is deliberate and focused effort to improve a targeted effort that allows for a biological process called myelination to accelerate the growth of a skill set. So you ever do something at the beginning and you're not as good as you are at it and you start to get better at it? Whether it be walking, you guys probably can't recall when you first started walking when you were a little baby, right? But when how does it work, right? The baby's kind of like, they kind of do this, right? And they stand up and then they get this and then they fall down, right? Ooh, and then they try it again and then they finally get it. They myelinated that skill set. So as human beings, every human being has the ability to myelinate a skill set. So everyone can do it. It's not like a situation where, some people have this ability, this great gift called myelin. Their brain produces myelin, other people don't. No, it's actually something every human being does. And struggle, this is what is important. Struggle is not optional. Okay? Struggle is not optional. It's neurologically required. So you actually, if you're not struggling, you're wasting your life. Do you guys get that? If you do something and there's no effort involved and you're not living on the edge of your ability, and you're not out of your comfort zone, you're wasting your time. Do you guys get it? You have to get out of your comfort zone in order to grow. That's the magic. The magic in it is operating on the edge of your ability, okay? So it's actually neurologically required. To get the circuits in your brain to acquire increasing complex abilities, watch this. To get the circuits in your brain to acquire increasingly complex abilities, you have to make mistakes and pay attention to those mistakes, okay? In order to slowly teach your brain circuits what they're supposed to do. So here's the deal. The prime example of this would be what? Okay, and I know some of you are brand new, right? So this might not, totally, make 100% sense to you, but as you get more involved in the business, this will make a lot of sense to you. But when you first get in the business, right, you're developing these skill sets, right? One of the skill sets is actually how to do a wow party. Do you guys get it? And you're trying to develop other people that can do wow parties. You guys see? Effectively, okay? Introduce the business to someone. People ask me, what's the difference between a wow party and a sit down? It's the same thing, just less people. Do you guys get that? It doesn't make a difference. Someone's like, well, which one's better? It's like, well, obviously talking to more people is better than talking to one person, just from common sense perspective. But you know what I mean? Like, what's better, talking to 1,000 people or talking to one? Some of these things are just too easy. We don't even need to be answered. But here's what we know for sure, is in order to develop a skill set, you have to operate on the edge of your ability. So in order to develop these skills that it takes to become successful, you have to make a mistake. So if I sit down and I do a sit down or a one-on-one with, let's say, a guest, say I'm talking to Thomas here and I give him the information, and say Thomas doesn't take action, say Thomas doesn't get started, okay? What happens is I have to look at it and say, what could have I done better? Why? Because if I do that, then I can learn from it. See, what some people do, this is a mindset that some people have, it's called a fixed mindset, is they blame that person. They go, this guy, Thomas, is a real, blankety blank, man. I'm sure glad that I don't think like that guy. You know what I mean? I'm glad I'm not in his family. And they're, you know what I mean? Like, that's how they think, and they're really mean, but they're not learning from it. See, if you blame someone else and I point a finger at you, I've got 3 fingers pointing back at me. Do you guys get it? So if I if I sit down with someone and I show them the opportunity or show them the plans, and they don't take action, I have to look at it and say, what could have I done differently? And if I accept the responsibility, then I have the capacity to change it. Do you guys see that? And you can learn from it. So if you make a mistake and it's like, oh, it's no big deal. No, it's actually a big deal. Don't do it again. Learn from it. That's okay. Do you guys get it? But if you don't learn from it, you're going to repeat the mistake and you're actually going to myelinate the wrong behavior. Do you guys see what happens to people? So if you do something wrong and you say, well, that was a good job, now you're myelinating the wrong skill set. So you're going to continue to do it wrong. If you do the wrong thing over and over and over again, it's like, you guys have heard the old saying, practice makes perfect. No, practice doesn't make perfect. It actually will destroy if you practice the wrong thing. Right? Practice makes permanent. You guys get that? Practice makes permanent. My mentor told me, he says, perfect practice makes perfect. Do you guys see it? If you want to practice perfection. Do you guys get it? Now, perfection is never going to be attained. I'm never going to be able to sit down and sign up 100% of the people that I ever talk to. But if I don't get the result that I want and I look at it, then guess what I can do? I can get better. I can change it next time. But if I go out there, and I had it one time, somebody that I trained to be a great leader in this industry, Jill can remember this. We went and we met with him, and he goes, I've done 300 presentations. And I go, dude, there's no way, bro, you did 300 presentations. You've signed no one up. What are you telling these people? You lying to them? I mean, just tell them the truth, right? I mean, if you tell somebody the truth, they're going to get started. So I go, let me see it. And he goes, I filled out applications for all of them. Dude had a stack of 300 applications like this. I go, bro, you're willing to work. That's huge. Because most people aren't willing to work. I go, you're willing to work. I go, dude, we just got to get you to make sure you understand that if you don't get the result you want, you don't keep repeating it. I go, dude, you're saying the wrong thing, dude. It's definitely a reality. I go, if I talk to 300 people, I'm not going to get 300 of them in, but I'm going to probably get about 290 something of them in. Like, what are you saying to these people, bro? You know what I mean? And he was, at the end of it, he just didn't actually allow them to get started. He would fill out the application and think they did a good job and would walk off. I'm like, bro, you got to get them in, man. You're like teasing these people. These people are like, that's really messed up. Not allowing these people to take action, that's like getting somebody excited and not letting them do it. I go, you got to let them in, bro. But what happens is if you do the wrong thing, you'll myelinate that process. So when you don't get the result that you want, put it on yourself. That's what I do, right? My mentor told me, he says, if you're hard on yourself, life will be easy on you. But if you're easy on yourself, life will be hard on you. Why is that? Because if you're easy on yourself, then you're going to myelinate the wrong skill set. But if you're hard on yourself, you're going to be able to say, that's not the right action. So if you start taking the right action, you're going to get the right result, and then it's going to become a habit. That's what we want, right? So let's move forward. Let's take a look at this in this myelin. Wait, go back for a second. But you guys see that this is what it looks like right here. But when your myelin starts to get developed, you can increase the speed of your neurons by 300%. Do you guys see that? Up to 300%, you can increase the speed. So basically, any activity in this book, the 52 tips to developing your skills. I can't wait to train on this. But this book right here, he talks about how there's two types of skill sets. You have a soft skill and a hard skill. He said hard skills are always the same. And I'll give you the football analogy. In football, when you throw a football, that's a hard skill set, right? It means you need to do it the right way and you need to do it the same every single time, right? You don't want to just sometimes throw it underhand, sometimes throw it 3/4, sometimes throw it like this, sometimes throw it like this. You pretty much want to do the same thing every time, right? That's a hard skill. But reading a defense is a soft skill, meaning what? Meaning that, you know what, it's going to change. Okay? So hard skills are the same every time. Soft skills change, but it's still a skill set. Communicating with people, sitting down with someone, that's a soft skill set. But soft skills they're developed a little bit differently, but it's very similar. A soft skill, you want to think like a skateboarder. You want to make mistakes. You want to learn from those mistakes, and you want to do it again. And the more mistakes that you make, the more successful you're going to become. You know, my son, when he came to me, he says, Dad, I want to learn how to skateboard. I said, dude, I don't know how to skateboard. You know, at all. But I go, here's what I do know is this, here's a skateboard, okay? I go, I know your mom bought you the pads. Don't put the pads on, okay? Just go out there and fall, because then you know you fell. Would you agree with that? I go, I want you to go out there and get really bloody. I go, if you come back and there's no blood, then you're not trying hard enough. You need to go out there and fall and fall and fall and fall and fall and make sure that there's blood. Do you guys see that? Because if you skin yourself a couple times, you know that didn't work. Would you agree with that? That's not the right way to do it for sure, because there's red stuff coming out of my arm, right? So the key is what, right? That's how you learn, though, man. You make a mistake and you learn from it. But if you're all padded up and bubble tap, you fall down, you don't even know anything about it. You're not going to get better. So it's the failure that's some people's view of failure. They don't like it. They don't like failure. That doesn't make any sense. That means how could you not like failure? Failure is the path to mastery, right? Failure is how you get good at something. Thomas J. Watson, right, this founder of IBM, said, hey, if you want to learn, the secret to success is very simple, double your rate of failure. Do you guys see that? If you went out there and you said, hey, I'm going to learn how to surf, and I know we probably have people in this room that can surf. How do you learn how to surf? Not by doing it perfectly. You gotta, guess what? Learn how to do it by trial and error. Like you learn and then it doesn't work out and you fall down, you get back up, you fall down, because you gotta learn how to make it happen. You gotta feel it. So how do you develop skills? It's easy. Failure, failure, failure. You gotta double the rate of failure. That's really the magic to life, not just business, but in life. The more you fail, the more success you're gonna be able to achieve. So let's move forward. Let's talk about this myelination process a little bit more. I like what George Bartkos, this guy is a professor of neurology at UCLA. This guy is like the leading genius on the myelination process. But he says myelin is the key to talking, reading, learning skills. He says basically being human. This is what makes us special, is this myelination process. So let me give you an example. Let's move forward. But he says, this is Dr. Douglas Fields. Okay, this guy is actually the director of laboratory development and neurobiology at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. This guy says this. He says, skill is myelin insulation that wraps neural circuits and that grows according to the certain signals. What? Let me repeat it. Skill is myelin insulation. So skill is basically just myelin insulation. That's all it is. Like, you guys know how to do stuff, right? Something like maybe whatever you can do that at one point you couldn't do. And you learned how to do it. You basically didn't learn how to do it. You just wrapped you myelinated that skill set. So you don't really develop skills. You myelinate skills. You don't acquire skills. You myelinate skills. They're not even skills. They're just basically an entire process called myelination. We just got to myelinate in the areas that we want to get results in, okay? So here's what he says as we move forward. Watch this. This is very good. This is more about that myelination process. And I know some of you are like, well, it's getting really technical. You're just losing me. Don't worry. It could be a lot more boring. Do you guys get that? It could be very boring. I could make this really not interesting, right? Hi, everyone. I want to share with you some information I'm excited about. It's like, dude, at least get excited about it. So I'm going to let you know. But this is that myelination process, right? These nerve fibers. What the heck? I don't know anything about this stuff, right? I didn't know any of this stuff. I read the book, guys. I don't know any of this stuff. But here's what happens is every human movement, listen to this, thought or feeling. Feeling? Yeah, feeling. Feeling is precisely timed electrical signal traveling through a chain of neurons. That's almost like Scooby-Doo, like, huh? Right? Every human movement, thought, or feeling is a precisely timed electrical signal traveling through a chain of neurons? A circuit of nerve fibers? What does this all mean? Here's what it is. It says myelin is the insulation that wraps these nerve fibers and increases the signal strength, speed, and accuracy. The key is we've not just got to develop our own skill set, we got to develop the skills of others around us too. Would you agree? How do we develop other people's skill sets, right? We got to help them myelinate, okay? So the more we fire a particular circuit, listen to this one. The more we fire a particular circuit, do you guys see that? Repetition is the mother of skills. That's what, guess what? Jim Rohn says. Right? Jim Rohn says what? Skills makes labor more valuable. Right? He says, if you could chop down a tree with a spoon, but it might take you a long time. It's better to have an axe, right? It's better to have a chainsaw, right? So the key is guess what? Right? We don't need to go out there and chop a lot of trees down. We just need to understand that skills makes labor more valuable. How do we develop those skills? We got to myelinate them. The more we fire, the more. Do you guys catch that word more? The more. So if you're not, look, you're never, let me show you guys how you're never going to get good at wow parties. By not doing them. If you understand, guaranteed you're not going to develop a skill set by not doing it. The more you do it, the more you're going to be able to fire that particular skill. So the more we fire a particular circuit, the more myelin optimizes, guess what? That circuit. And the stronger, faster, and more fluent our movements and thoughts become. So we have to myelinate our skill sets. How do we do that? By operating on the edge of our ability. By getting out of our comfort zone. In everything that you want to get better at, you've got to get out of, guess what? Your comfort zone. Watch this. I think you're going to like this. Talking about deep practice cells. as we move forward, I think you're going to like this a lot. This is a study. This guy's really fired up about rats. This guy's a big fan of rats. His name's William T. Greenough. This guy's a professor of psychology at the University of Illinois. Now, this guy is amazing with rats, okay? This guy studied 3 groups of rats, okay? One group of rats, he put them in isolation, okay? The second group, he put them in shoe boxes together. And the third group, he put them all together, but he put a bunch of toys in there. One of the toys was a dump truck that had a lever on it. These mices, or mices, oh no, they're rats. I don't even know if they're related, but these rodents, okay, they learned how to operate the dump truck. They were putting it on. I think one of them learned how to ride a little scooter, a little razor. Can you imagine a rat on a razor? Okay, so he did this study, and then guess what he did? Don't worry, I know some of you are scared of rats. He killed all the rats, so don't worry. And he chopped their brains open. And this guy's so mean to rats, but no. But he discovered that the third group, the one that had toys, right, they produced 25% more myelin. So, you know, guess what? You know, you've got to operate on the edge of their ability. They didn't have that toy. If they didn't have the razor, they wouldn't have learned how to ride it. So you have to, guess what, you have to make that option available if you want to learn. So here's what you find out, though, as you look at it, as we move forward. I think you're going to find out the fact that Frederick Ullin, he scanned the brains of concert pianists and found a direct proportional relationship between hours of deep practice and myelin. Move forward, watch this. This is Torkel Klingberg, okay? Good old Torkel Klingberg. This guy linked reading skills and myelin. Look at this guy. Watch this. I think you'll like this one even better. This is Dr. Jesus Pujo. This is Jesus Pujo. He did the same study with vocabulary. This guy found out that your vocabulary is directly connected to the myelination process, meaning that anyone can do it. Meaning that some of you are like, I don't really know if I can do this. That doesn't make any sense. You're a human being. Your brain can make myelination. You can do it. There's no question. There's no debate process whether, I don't even know if I can do it or not. I'm scared. What? Of course you can. You can learn to do anything. Remember when we were kids, we were like, oh, you can do anything you want. You can if you're willing to myelinate the skill set. In this book, Daniel Coyle's like, after doing this research for 10 years, he goes, maybe I need to develop a skill. So he turned on the television, and it was the Tiger Woods ad. Do you guys remember the Tiger Woods ad? Probably some of you seen it, where he was bouncing a golf ball on a golf club. And then he's like, tuk, 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 and he's doing like this between, he's like, tuk, 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 and he's doing like this, tuk, 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 tuk. He's doing this wild, okay? And then he kicks it up in the air and then swacks it. He swacked that golf ball. Now watch. He's like, I can learn how to do that then. If what I learned is a reality, I can learn to do it. So he hooked up a videotape, and he started videotaping himself. And he said it was not good at the beginning. He said his kids were making fun of him like crazy. He goes, there's nothing worse than your kids laughing at you nonstop. Because he's like trying to do it and couldn't do it. And he's showing the video of him. And he says after about 2 months, he started to say to himself, and it shows him 2 months, not a lot of improvement. He goes, man, maybe I don't have this, since I don't have the same, biological make as Tiger Woods, I don't have the experience that Tiger Woods, maybe I don't have the father that Tiger, he started to justify. You guys ever known people do that? He started to justify, maybe I can't do it. And he started to doubt himself. But then he said, oh, well, you know what? If these Spartak people can make these people do good, I can learn how to do it. So he kept on trying. And then at about 11 months into it, he was able to do it. And he shows a video of him doing it exactly the same as Tiger Woods. He said he's never played golf in his life. But he said, I did the study on myself to see if what I learned was a reality. He goes, anyone can learn anything if they're willing to put the time and get out of their comfort zone. Someone might say, well, you know what, I've been involved in secret for 6 months. No, you haven't. You haven't been involved at all if you haven't got out of your comfort zone. It doesn't matter how long you do something. You understand? Somebody's like, oh, wow, it's easier for you, Tim. You've been in this industry for 19 years. It doesn't matter how long you do it. It's not a marathon. It's about getting out of your comfort zone. If you get out of your comfort zone, you can grow fast. You can accelerate your learning process. So the big picture is what we're trying to do is what? Develop all these presenters. You're trying to duplicate presenters. How do we do that? Someone cannot learn how to present by not doing it. Do you guys get it? The key is this isn't a sprint. Some of you guys are going to hear network marketing. Oh, it's a sprint. Some people are going to say, oh, it's a marathon. Oh, it's a sprint. It's a marathon. Both people are incorrect. It's neither. It's a relay race in your ability to pass a baton. So if you can learn the skill of doing a wow party effectively, then you have to duplicate one person. And then you have to duplicate another. Because the big picture is what would happen if you had 2,000 presenters out there presenting? You think you'd be doing some business? Yeah. You guys see it? So we have to, guess what, develop presenters. We have to develop leaders. We have to help people myelinate their skill sets. Let's move forward. Let's take a look at this. This is what I think you're going to like the best. This is K. Anders Ericsson. Now, here's what a lot of people have heard from that book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. They call it the 10,000 rule, 10,000 hour rule. It's not 10,000 hours of practice. It's 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. He says every expert in every field is a result of around 10,000 hours of committed practice. Watch what he says. Deliberate practice is defined as working on a technique, seeking constant critical feedback and focusing ruthlessly on shoring up those weaknesses. He's the one that came up with it. Okay? He's the original guy that came up with it. This guy's a professor of psychology at Florida State. He has a book called he has a paper or has a book called the Cambridge Handbook of Expertise and Expert Performance. And it's 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. How good would it be? Think about it. 10,000, here's what I'll tell you for sure. 10,000 hours from now, you're going to be somewhere. 10,000 hours from now, you're going to be somewhere. And where you're going to be is going to be dependent on what you focus your time on. What would happen if you spend 10,000 hours watching television? You would be very good at watching television. Would you guys agree with that? What would happen if you played a video game for 10,000 hours? You would be a champion winner of the video game. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah. You guys ever met some people like their thumbs are like magical, like, oh my God, this guy's thumbs are amazing. Don't be so impressed. He just myelinated that skill set. You guys see it? You can get good at anything if you're willing to put the time, effort, and energy into doing it, but getting out of your comfort zone while you do it. So what do you want to get good at? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? What do you want to see? What do you want? You can do it. It's not a matter of like, well, I don't really know if I can do it or not. Sorry, unfortunately, that doesn't make any sense. Your brain, you have the ability to do it. You can myelinate that skill set. It doesn't matter whether you think you can or think you can't. It has nothing to do with can or can't, it's will or won't. You either will get out of your comfort zone and put in the time that is required to develop a skill set, or you won't. That's it. That's really the absolute facts. There's no debating it. There's no like, well, I'm not sure if I agree with that. There's too much scientific data to prove it. What are you? This guy's a professor of psychology at Florida State University. What's your credentials? I didn't even graduate high school. Do you guys get that? I don't know anything. I'm going to take this guy's word on it because that's all he does his whole life is study people. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, look at this guy. He did all this studying. I don't have to do that. Watch this. Move forward. I want to show you guys. I think you'll like this even better. This is actually Herbert A. Simon, Nobel Prize winner, in fact. Then William G. Chase. This guy's a professor of psychology at Carnegie Mellon University. Simon and Chase discovered even astonishing prodigy Bobby Fischer. You guys remember that guy? Yeah. Hey, Bobby Fischer. You guys remember that? No one knows about that. But this Bobby Fischer put in 9 years before achieving grandmaster status. So you spend 9 years playing chess, you're probably going to get pretty good at it if you operate on the edge of your ability. If you spend 9 years playing chess, but you just look at a chessboard all day, you're not going to get it better. Okay. Let's move forward. I think you might like this even better. This is more about this. Mozart. You guys all know Mozart, right? I don't really personally know the guy. I've just heard about him. But from what I've heard, this guy was a beast. Mozart, by his 6th birthday, okay, had already studied 3,500 hours of music with his instructor father, okay? This guy, this is Michael J.A. Howe. This guy's a British cognitive psychologist and author of a book called Genius Explained. Phenomenal piece of literature, I'm sure. Let's move forward. This is something I think you'll like. Ellen Winter. She's a professor of psychology at Boston College. She called it the Rage Master. Watch this. The Rage Master is one of the most important ideas in studying talent and giftedness. Okay? It describes the motivation of gifted and talented people to master an area of interest, to focus intensely. I like that word. Focus intensely. It's a good place to be. On that subject matter and consume new information and skills. We have to intensely develop our skill set. We can't passively do it. We can't cross our fingers and hope we get good. We can't just, oh man, you know what? I don't know. I wasn't born that way. What? You weren't born with a brain that operates? It does. You're a human being. This is one of the magics. This is the miracle. This is how we were built. The Creator created us this way. We already got it. So we just got to apply it. Watch this. I think you'll like this even better. Let's move forward. This is Vladimir Horowitz. Vladimir Horowitz, I had no idea, but Vladimir Horowitz is considered one of the greatest pianists of all time. That is a funny word, pianist. Right? I'm just a pianist. You're such a pianist. Like, what did you just call me? This guy was the greatest pianist of all time. I thought my wife called me, you're such a pianist? What? Something my wife would call me. No, I can't play the piano. I'm just joking. But here's what he says. It's okay, right? David already got permission. I didn't even ask. David asked for permission earlier. I forgot to ask. What kind of a jerk am I, right? I should have asked, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep on having fun. Here's what Vladimir Horowitz said, believe it or not. If I skip practice for one day, I notice. So if he skips practice, this guy's the world's greatest. One day, I notice. He goes, if I skip practice for 2 days, my wife notices. He says, if I skip practice for 3 days, the world notices. What? This guy is serious. This is Vladimir Horowitz, guys, one of the best. Look at this guy. Look at this. This is his younger years. This is his latter years. Look at this, though. Even when he was, later on up there, the guy's still sitting in front of the piano. This guy practiced every day. He loves the piano. You see that? He's still serious. Look at that commitment. So let's move forward. I want to show you a little bit more about this because I think you might like this a little bit. It's about that deliberate practice that everybody keeps talking about. But it says 10,000 hour rules. It takes about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. Deliberate is key to become an expert, okay? It says, are you engaging in deliberate practice, either yes or no? Practicing your skill, okay? Practicing your skill or mindless repetition. Mindless repetition is a waste of time. Do you guys see that? Number 2, it says constantly striving for improvement. Good idea. Or a no-no is watching an expert perform. So you got to, guess what? Step up. You can sit there and watch oh man, I wish someone would just show me how to do a wow party. What? What? You're going to let someone else take your glory? How about you just step up and do it? And your first wow party is going to, guess what? Be terrible. And your second one's going to be even worse. Right? But if you keep on keeping on, you're going to be able to get. So here's number 2. Yes, monitoring your performance. Good idea. Teaching somebody else. You got to step up and learn your skills. It says evaluating your successes, only doing the things that you're already good at. Okay? Working on the aspects you're not good at. You got to work on those aspects. And he says staying in a comfort zone. Staying in a comfort zone is a big no-no. Staying in your comfort zone, that's a no-no. Okay? So he goes on to talk about how fast you can make it happen if you're practicing 9 hours a week or da-da-da. So you can make it happen as fast as you want, right? There's no limit to how fast you can increase the speed of your capacity. Let's move forward. I think you might even like this better. This is the part that I really like. This is Juliet R.V. Barker. She's a big fan of the Bronte sisters, right? And she's a British historian. She studied them for like 5 years. I think she was jealous. Because here's what she says. She says the Brontes, after her research, she found out the Bronte sisters' early slapdash writing. Did you know they had slapdash writing? I don't know what that means. Bronte sisters' early slapdash writing, appalling spelling, and non-existent punctuation well into their late teenage years extensively undermines the view that they were born novelists. You guys see that? She extensively undermined that view. They're not born novelists. You don't just pop out and be like, hey, let's write some books. You guys see that? You have to develop that skill set. You guys see it? You got to do it. And so she debunked that myth. Do you guys see that? She debunked the myth. We like to call her the myth debunker. But no, she literally found out the fact that they worked hard to develop that skill, just like everybody else. So move forward. I think you might even like this little piece of nugget of insight. We're going to move into something called chunking. I can talk about personal experiences here. I got this base covered. Okay? Understanding chunking. Okay? Chunking is the secret to accelerated struggle. What? Chunking is the secret to accelerated struggle. That's what we want to do. In talent hotbeds, okay, the chunking takes place in 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions. The first dimension, the participants look at the task as a whole, okay, as one big chunk, okay, as what he called the mega circuit. So imagine the big picture. What's the big picture? You know, we a couple, I'd say probably like 5 conventions ago that I went to. I remember, you know, Moti Benchmark got in front of the training, and he was talking about a book that he read about 2 people are doing the same job, but they have a completely different level of passion and excitement and enthusiasm because of their view of what they're doing. One person's laying brick, the other person's building a castle. They're doing the same job, but it's the view. The person that's building the castle has way more success and has a better time. Do you guys see it? So you have to look at the big picture. What's the big picture? The big picture is, guess what? To me, it's like we want to have 2,000 presenters. Imagine if we had 2,000 presenters. That'd be pretty sweet, okay? So to me, that's my big picture. Like, I want to get 2,000 people out there that are presenting information, okay? Easy to do, right? But you first got to know what it is. The second dimension, okay, of this chunking process is the second dimension is they divide it into smaller, more possible chunks. So they take this big giant chunk and then they chunk it into smaller chunks. And watch what they do thirdly. The third dimension, they play with time. They slow the action down, they speed it up, they learn their inner architecture. So basically what you want to do is the third thing that you want to do is you want to say, okay, here's what we're doing. Big picture, 2,000 presenters. What's the first step? Probably learning how to present yourself. Would you guys agree with that? All right, I want to get 2,000 presenters. Okay, great. Well, first step is you've got to, guess what, learn how to do your own wow parties. Do you guys get that? Some people are like, well, yeah, I just don't stay motivated. Well, you probably should start doing that. Do you guys see how smart that is? Because that's, you know what I mean? Like that's the way my brain works. It's like, well, let's just stay motivated. I think that's better than not being motivated. It's a choice, right? And here's what I'll tell you, though, is action precedes motivation. You guys see it? And then what happens is you continue the action and you continue the motivation, then it becomes a habit. Watch how this works, okay? The first step is to become a presenter yourself. And then the second step is to develop your first, guess what? Presenter. And then you teach them how to develop a presenter. And then you develop another presenter. And you teach that person how to develop. And you just start basically, it's like, then it'll start to grow like wildfire, right? Through a dry brush field, okay? So we want to chunk it up. So let's keep talking about this chunking, okay? Let's get a little bit more chunky with it. I like this guy. This guy is Adrian de Groot, okay? This guy's a chess master, in fact, okay? And psychologist. In his book, it's called Thought and Choice. It's about, thought and choice in chess. He explains a study, guess what? He conducted with 2 groups of world-class experts, okay, and novice players as well. So he took 2 groups. Watch what he did. One group, chess champions. Other group, people like me, okay? And what he did was he placed the pieces in a position from real games, real situations. And guess what happens? The experts had 4 times better recall. So he would place these pieces, and then they would have to look at it and remember where the pieces were. Then he would take them away and say, where were the pieces? The chess experts had 4 times better recall. Some of the chess experts had 100% recall. Wow. And then guess what? Now, he did it again. The second round, he placed them in random positions that were not possible to actually happen in a real game of chess. Wouldn't be possible. And the novice, people like me that don't know anything, and chess experts had the exact same recall. Because they never experienced it. They never been there before. They never seen anything like it, so they couldn't remember it. Do you guys see what happens? Well, you have to look at it and say, man, you know what? I've got to just experience it. The more I experience, the better understanding I'm going to get. So I've got to go out there and gain more experiences. I got to get more. Somebody goes, what do you say when somebody says this? Well, I know what to say. Why? Because I've done it. I've heard that 10,000 times. Of course I can remove that objection. Do Do you guys see it? I'm going to remove it in my presentation so it doesn't even come up later on. That's what I'm going to do. But guess what? You learn that through experience of operating outside of your comfort zone. You got to guess what? Say, hey, I'm gonna accelerate my learning. Let's watch this. I want to move forward. I want to talk a little bit about this. I think you might like this information. I want you to, everybody see this first sentence? Anybody? What does this say? Boom. We climb Mount Everest on a Tuesday morning. Okay? Go back for a second. Now, does anybody remember what that sentence said? 100% recall. Okay, move forward. Now, anybody want to know how to read this? So, someone's like, I don't speak German, Tim. I don't know Russian. You get it? It's hard to remember it because we've never seen it before. Yeah, it's the same thing backwards, but we don't know these words. Do you guys get it? Because we don't read like that. Do you guys see how we don't read? We read like this, and then we chunk it up. We climbed. That's one thing we remember. Then Mount Everest, we remember that. On a Tuesday morning, we remember it. So it's the way our brain functions. It's just because we've experienced this. But if you talk to someone that couldn't read, it would both look the same. Do you guys see it? Yeah. It's just because we've experienced this. The more experience you get, the better understanding that you're going to get, the more awareness you're going to get. So how do you gain experience? Doing it, right? Repetition is the mother of skill, right? Repetition is the mother of learning, Jim Rohn says. Let's move forward. I want to get into this a little bit more. I think you might like this even better. But this is Ivan Galmian. This guy is a chunky expert, right? This guy is as chunky as it gets. He says, here's what he did, is who are some of the world-class musicians that have been created at the Meadowmount School of Music? And how does Ivan Galmian use chunking? This guy is the guy that started this little Meadowmount School in New York. Let's move forward. Let's take a look at some of these champions. These world-class, look at how this guy is relatively small compared to this guy. Look at this guy's deal. You guys see that? Look at that. Look at this guy's size deal. This guy's size deal. Look how big this guy looks. You get what I mean? That means he's like this tall. Yo-Yo Ma. You guys see? His fiddle is, he's either, his fiddle, look at that fiddle. But this guy, Itzhak Perlman, I'm just kidding. What's it called in Hawaii? Ukulele. Look at this guy. This guy is small compared to his ukulele. So this guy, Pinchas Zuckerberg, this guy's big with the ukulele. Then Joshua Bell, one of the best ukulele players in the world. Yo-Yo Ma is this tall. If you know, he's got a big ukulele. And then this is Itzhak Perlman. This guy, these are like some of the best. They all come from, guess what? The Meadowmount School of Music. Watch this. I want to move forward. I want to jump into this. This is what they do. Meadowmount in 7 weeks, okay, 7 weeks time frame. Most students will learn a year's worth of material and increase by 500% their learning speed. Okay? Teachers take the idea of chunking to the extreme. These guys are extreme chunkers. Here's what they do. Students scissor each measure of their sheet music into horizontal strips, which are stuffed into envelopes, pulled out in random order. And then they go on to break those strips down into smaller fragments, and they slow down the rhythm. And at Meadowmount, if you can hear what they're doing, you're doing it wrong. They should not be able to know what note you're doing. I don't know anything about music. This makes no sense to me at all. But I'm reading it going, wow. Wow. That's wild. Okay? Because my neighbor has got a music, and it used to sound like there was kittens being tortured over there or something, right? I'd like go home, I'm like, dude, this guy's like torturing kittens at his house. And it was really, he was learning to play the violin. Now I go out there, it's like, woo, he's like Mozart. I'm like, what? You know? But he just basically, chunked it up. So here's what they do. Well, now I'm going to talk a little bit about primal cues. So you guys get the concept, right? We're looking at the big picture. We got to break it down. We have to operate on the edge of our ability. We got it. We can do it. We know it. Anybody can do it. Everybody on our team can win. This is something that's an absolute. Now here's the key: is you got to have those primal cues. Now Roger Bannister, the same year after Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, 17 other athletes did it too. Okay, the 17 runners received a clear signal that you can do it too. See, some of you right now, you got in, maybe had a little bit of success and then got scared and stopped growing. And you've been stuck there. You're stuck in space. Do you guys see that? So guess what you have to do? You have to keep growing. Why do you have to keep growing? Because your people that are in line behind you are like, what are you doing up there? Do you guys see it? You guys ever see? You ever wait in line? You're like, what is going on up there? There's not even someone in the car. You guys ever do that? Last night when we were checking in the hotel, I'm like, there's nobody in the car. This guy got out of the damn car and let this car on with the lights. Of course this traffic's not moving fast. This dude's not even here. I don't know if the guy got abducted by aliens or just left, but I know for sure that's how some of your people feel. Some of your people are waiting in line behind you going, are you going to move? You get it? So if your people saw you get out of control and just start going after it, what do you think would happen to them? You think they would get inspired? If they saw you step up? Because see, a lot of the people that you've enrolled as agents on your team, they know you. And they have that relationship with you. If you stepped up, what would happen to them? They would step up. If you broke the 4-minute mile in your life, maybe some other people would be able to do it too. So be that leader. Don't be a waiter, be a leader. Lead. Step out in front. Watch this. I want to show you this. I like this even better. I'm glad that we're going to talk about this. But here, this is Jeffrey Cohen. This guy is a professor of organizational behavior at Stanford Graduate School of Business. Okay? Look at what he said. When we get a cue that we ought to connect our identity with a group, it's like turning on a light switch. The ability to achieve is already there, but the energy put into that ability goes through the roof. What? Watch this. I like this even better. Let's move forward. This is, Dr. John A. Braw. This guy's a psychologist at Yale University. Watch what he says. Our brains are always looking for a cue as where to spend our energy now. Now. We're swimming in an ocean of cues. Can you guys see us doing that? And constantly responding to them. Okay? But like a fish in water, we just don't see it. Where are you going to put your time into? Wherever you put your time into, right? Wherever energy, goes. Guess what happens, right? Your skill set is going to grow, right? So you got to guess what? Step it up. Watch this. Let's move forward. I want to talk a little bit more about what Johnny Braw's talking about. Watch this guy. This is the same situation. He calls it the Scrooge factor. Watch this. The Scrooge factor. Okay. Our conscious mind is like a stingy banker of energy reserves. Okay. Keeping its wealth locked in a vault. What? Let it out. Direct pleas to open the vault won't work. He says Scrooge can't be fooled that easily, but he says, but when he's hit with the right combination of primal cues, when he's visited by a series of primal cue ghosts, you might say, the tumblers click and the vault of energy flies open and suddenly it's Christmas Day. So we possess the capacity, we have the ability, but we're like a little stingy banker. Look at that stingy banker. Stop being a stingy banker. Open up the floodgates. Why not, right? Life's going on anyways, isn't it? So life's going to happen regardless. So if life's going to happen, why don't we just, guess what? Make it happen too. Because time's going to keep going whether we grow or not. So why not us just step up? Why not us just, look at what he says. Let that energy vault fly open and just put all of our energy into it. You know what I mean? This guy's John Disdoc. Don't take it from me. I don't know anything. But this guy's Dr. John A. Braw. This guy's psychologist at Yale. That's pretty big time, I think. So let's move forward. This guy knows what he's talking about. So here's what, oh God, I love this one. This is what they did. They did a study. The Watkins performance scale. This is a scale right here. This is low, moderate, high. This is the amount of success. But he says they asked the students on how long they intend to play. This is a violinist. When they enrolled in this school of violin, they asked these kids, how long do you intend to play? You're going to love this. 3 responses. Some were like, I don't know. Probably not very long. Some were like, if I like it, probably for a long time. And some were like, why would I ever stop? Right? So you have your short-term, medium, and long-term commitments. Okay? Who do you think had the most success? The long-term commitment people outperform the short-term by 400%. So when you enroll a brand new agent, you already know. If someone's like, I don't really know if I want to do this or not. Be a customer, dude. Let me ask you a question. You think I'd rather have 1,000 agents or 1,000 customers? I'd rather have 1,000 customers. Why? Because an agent, if they're not going to be committed and they retired prematurely, guess what? If someone retires prematurely, they're probably not going to stay on auto reorder because they don't want to be reminded that guess what? They're quitters. Any of you guys ever been in a relationship that didn't work out? You usually don't keep pictures of them up on the wall to remind you. Would you agree with that? Right? You're not like, keep reminding me of that bad choice I made, right? You know what I mean? So if someone's getting started, they're getting started with the end in mind. If they're putting their toe in the water, like, oh yeah, I'll give it a shot and see. It's like, dude, this isn't a bottle of Patron, just so you know. We're not going to give it a shot. We're not going to, let's give it a good try. No, just be a customer, dude. I'm looking for people that are committed, man. I'm looking for someone who's like, dude, I'm going to take this thing over. Right? I'm going to make a fortune. You know, man, when you get somebody in the business, they're like, man, I'm going to blow. It's not potential. Do you guys get that? It's not someone's potential, it's their commitment, because their commitment's going to unlock the potential. What potential do we have? Well, as human beings, we all have unlimited potential because we can myelinate skill sets. It's your commitment level, man. It's like, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. You're going to see me waving from the top or dead on the side because I'm not coming back. That type of commitment, man, we're going to get results. That's why when you get someone started, hey, ask them, hey, man, we're not looking for people to get started. We're not looking for people to join the band. We're looking for people who are going to learn how to play an instrument, right? So watch this. Let's move forward. I think you might like this even more. In 1998, one South Korean LPGA Tour expert over here, that was Siri Pak, as we talked about earlier, women's, Russian tennis women's top 100 champions in tennis, 3. Now, guess what? 9 years later, there's 15 of these women crushing it in Russia in tennis, and 33. 33? South Koreans on the LPGA Tour? I don't even know how many people are on the LPGA Tour, but 33 seems like a pretty big number. I don't even know what that means, but it should be a lot, I'm sure, because it used to be only one. So we have to understand, when we do it, guess what can happen as a result? How many people's lives will be changed because you step up and you decide that, guess what? I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to go all out. Nothing can stop me. Nothing can get in my way. Over, under, through, I'm going to win. What's going to happen as a result of that? Think about the impact that's going to make. Let's move forward. I like this even more. Watch this. Thomas Crothers. This is my favorite thing in the history of ever. I could sit there all day long looking into the clouds and never come up with an idea like this. And this guy said it. I'm like, man, that must feel good to say something so great. Listen to what he said. A teacher is one who makes himself or herself. A teacher is one who makes himself progressively unnecessary. What? A teacher is one who makes himself progressively unnecessary. How do we do that? We have to empower people. We have to equip them and empower them. And more importantly, guess what? Believe in them. We got to believe that they can do it. Woo! Thomas Crothers, good looking out. Let's move forward and see what else is great. I think this next bit of insight, this is how we can ignite a talent hub, but this is my favorite part of the entire situation. So I know some of you are like, man, this has been very boring up until this point. I thought you promised us, Tim, that this was going to be useful information. You've been boring us to death right now. Why are you doing that? Well, guess what? It's about to get good, so strap on your mental seatbelt. Okay, so watch this. This is Carol S. Dweck. Woo-wee! She made this book right here. I like to call it a masterpiece because that's what it is. But she says, left to our own devices, watch what we do. Left to our own devices, we go along at a pretty stable mindset. Okay? But when we get a clear cue, a message that sends a spark, the boing, that's what she calls it. The boing. She called it the boing factor. That's great. The boing, all right, we respond. So we're just kind of chilling out, we're doing a thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, we unlock. That's what we're doing right now. And here's what it is. Watch this. I think you're going to like this even more. This is, oh God, this is magic. This is music. This. You guys remember when Michael Jackson did the moonwalk for the first time? Yeah. You thought, damn, dude, right? Like, what? I don't even know what he's doing, but that is amazing. That's this situation. When you hear this little nugget of insight, you might remember where you were when you heard it for the rest of your life. If you let it touch your heart. Listen to this. 400 fifth graders were studied in New York, okay? First round of studies. Here's what they did. They were all given the same test. Watch what they did. Group A, half the kids were praised with, you must be smart at this. We're going to call that praise for performance. So one group, Group A, was praised for performance. You must be really smart at this, okay? Group B, the other half of the kids were praised with, you must have worked really hard. Praise for effort. What's the biological reality? Where does the good grade come from? Watch what happens. So she praised effort and praised ability. Watch what happens the second round. Watch this. The second round, they were offered a harder test or the same test. You want to do something a little bit harder, more of a challenge, or you want to do something easier? Well, the group A, the praise for performance group, right? The, hey, you must be smart. They didn't want a harder test because they didn't want to jeopardize that status. Group B, the praise for effort group, watch what they did. 90% of them wanted a harder test. Woo! What are we praising? Now watch this. Let's kick. Watch. This is round 3. Round 3. The kids were given the same level test as the first time. The praise for performance group, that you must be smart, they had a 20% lower grade than the first time. They got 20% dumber as a result of them being praised for their performance. But the praise for effort group, guess what happened to them? 30% higher grade than the first time. So if you praise a performance or you praise an effort, can it make that dramatic of an impact, mainly over a long period of time? And I think you're going to say to yourself after this, you better believe it. Let's move forward. Let's take a look at this. I like this part. In Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, which I'm just diving into right now, I'm falling in love with this book. This is like, woo-wee. I love it. Here's what she says. When we praise people for their intelligence, okay, and she says you could substitute this for anything, okay? If you praise someone for their performance, all right, if you praise them for their intelligence, we tell them that that's the name of the game. Look smart. Don't risk making mistakes. But see, praise effort works because it reflects the biological reality. Skill circuits are not easily built. Deep practice requires serious effort and a passionate work. Effort-based language works, oh God, get ready. Effort-based language works because it speaks directly to the core of the learning experience. That is so true. Look at what she just said. Effort-based language works because it speaks directly to the core of the learning experience. And when it comes to ignition, well, there's nothing more powerful, she says. So how do we ignite these talent hotbeds? How do we turn this to a talent hotbed? We have to get excited about what we're doing. Not about where we are, not about what we've accomplished, not about the results we're having or the results we're not having, but it's about what we're doing. Wow. Oh, get ready. It's about, you thought that, no, it's about to get, oh man. You're going to be like, I'm so glad I came right now. Watch this. That's how you're going to react. There's 2 different mindsets. Get ready right now, because it's about to go down. You have a fixed mindset, and a growth mindset. This is her whole book is about this. It's ridiculous. Fixed mindset leads to a desire to look smart and therefore a tendency to, we're going to talk about it. A growth mindset leads to a desire to learn and therefore a tendency to. So there's 2 mindsets. A fixed mindset is kind of like that mindset is, hey, I'm born the way that I'm born, and that's the way I'm born. And I can't change it. That's just the way I am. The growth mindset says, guess what? I can do anything. I can make anything happen. I can learn how to do anything. I can grow. I can get better. I'm not stuck in a situation where I can't grow, right? I like what Jim Rohn said. He says the only living creature on earth that won't grow to its full capacity is a human being. He says physically we will, but mentally we won't. Les Brown says the greatest waste of a natural resource is the human mind. He says that we'll take to our grave gifts and abilities. He says the wealthiest place in the world is a graveyard because we'll take to our grave skills and abilities that were just wasted, ideas that were wasted, gifts that were wasted. We got to start operating on the edge of our ability, man. We're wasting time. What could we grow into, man? What could we do? Woo! Getting pumped. Watch this. Oh, man. Watch this. Challenges. Look at the way these people here with the fixed mindset, they don't like challenges. Oh, my God, challenges. Something that's hard. I'm scared of that. That's how they think. What? These people here are like, challenges. Oh, yeah. You guys see that? They love challenges. These guys embrace challenges. This is it, man. How do you feel about an obstacle? When you're faced with a challenge, do you cower in a corner from it, or do you say, oh yeah, this is going to be great? You understand what I'm saying? There are opportunities to grow, man. You have a challenge? What? I can't wait to make this happen. Obstacles. Fixed mindset people, they give up whenever they face obstacles. Oh, it's so hard. These people here, they persist in face of setbacks. Growth mindset, oh my God, this is awesome. A challenge? Woo! Thank God. Right? You know, because they know that, guess what? That's what makes life worth living. If life was just easy every day, it would be boring. How boring would that be? What makes life fun is obstacles, is challenges, is, oh man, this is tough. This is tough, man. I like this. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes life great, is challenges. Don't be afraid of a challenge. It doesn't even make any sense. Challenge is how you develop your skill set. That's how the myelination process becomes a reality. Man, I'm getting pumped right now. Watch this. Get this. Oh, geez. Ooh, this is how we ignite a hotbed, a talent, effort. Fixed mindset people, whenever they see effort as fruitless. They see effort as you must be not very good at it if you have to work hard at it. Can you make people think like that? Well, if you have to work hard at it, you must not be very good. That's how they think. These people here are like, ooh, effort, that's the path to mastery. How do you get good at something, man? Effort. Effort. Effort's how you myelinate the skill sets. Effort's how you unlock your potential. Effort is how we grow and get better. We got to operate on the edge of our ability. Watch this, criticism. Oh, don't criticize these guys because they ignore negative feedback. These people learn from criticism. Whoa, that's a good idea. Watch this. Get ready for this. This is the part you're going to fall in love with. Fixed mindset people, when they see other people's success, they feel threatened by others' success. They see others' success and they're scared, like, oh no, this person's succeeding. These people over here in the growth mindset, they find lessons of inspiration in success of others. Like, dang, if that person can do it, that's what's now possible? Well, this is wonderful for me because guess what? It can happen. So when you see someone else's success, how do you see it? As a result of all this, okay, these people here, as a result of all this, they reach the highest levels of achievement. It's that growth mindset. Sometimes the people that have a fixed mindset might have more success out the gates, but it's kind of like the old saying, time will either expose you or promote you. These people here, as a result, they may plateau early and achieve less than their full potential. You look at some of the greatest of all time, man, some of the greatest minds ever. And guess what happened? They weren't home run hitters out the gates. They were terrible. They were awful. People like Walt Disney, he got fired for lacking creativity. What? This is truth. But he had a growth mindset. Where I am, guys, Michael Jordan as a sophomore didn't even make the varsity team. And someone said, well, you know what? He was only a sophomore. What? Dude's the best ever. Dude is the best ever. Do you guys understand what I'm telling you guys? Look at LeBron James. In 7th grade, dude, the guy was dunking. Do you guys see what I'm saying? This dude in his sophomore year couldn't even make the high school basketball team at Laney High. We're not talking about some great school. We're not talking about St. Louis or one of these unbelievable schools that you guys have out here. We're talking about, dude, Laney High? All I'm saying is what? What did his mom tell him when he failed? His mom said, use it as inspiration. She said, hey, work harder and show them next year that they made a mistake. He said that burnt him so deep. You look at Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady was this, 100 and whatever pick in the 6th round or whatever. 7th round, guy was like barely even picked. Guy in his high school year didn't start until his senior year in high school. It didn't, and in college, didn't start until his senior year in college, and barely started. I think halfway through the season first started starting. But guess what he did? He became great. Why? Because he remembered that, hey, it's a growth. It's a process. Where are you going to end up? It's not where you are right now. It's where you're going. As soon as you say, man, this is it, you're going to backslide. You got to always operate on the edge of your ability. You got to be like Vladimir Horowitz. Vladimir Horowitz said what? He said, man, if I don't practice for one day, I'm going to get worse than I notice. 2, my wife notices. 3, the world notices. Don't let the world notice. Don't let yourself notice, man. Let's go after it. Man, I'm getting pumped. I shouldn't have came today. I'm not going to sleep for a week. Watch this. David Banks, this guy, I'm glad he said this. David Banks, oh man, get ready for something about to happen for you. This guy's a professor of statistical science at Duke University. He has a paper called The Problem with Excess Genius. He says genius is not scattered uniformly throughout time and space. To the contrary, they tend to appear in clusters. Clusters of geniuses. Watch this. Watch this. This is a genius. I like to call it a genius cluster. Florence, Italy. Talk about the biggest cluster of geniuses ever. Art of the Renaissance era. Okay, 200-year period, 1400, 1600 in Florence. Just so you know, I wasn't around then, but what I found out is Florence, Italy, in the Renaissance era, only had a population of 70,000 people. There was only 70,000 people living there. How did they produce such world-class artists? It's mathematically not possible. Well, guess what it is? Because it happened. They had a guild. They had an apprentice system. What is that? Well, let's talk about it. Look at this. You guys know Leonardo da Vinci? Right? I don't know him, but I know the guy was pretty good, right? Leonardo was mentored by Verrocchio. Verrocchio was mentored by Donatello. And Donatello and Leonardo and Verrocchio were all mentored by Garibaldi. No, I don't know who these guys are. I mean, these guys are really the deal, though. This really happened. But when this guy was 6 years old in Florence, Italy, if you were going to get into that career path, you went and basically lived with these people and just followed around all day and learned from them. Can you imagine being a little 6-year-old and hanging out and seeing Verrocchio and Donatello and all these greats? Oh, there's Michelangelo. Let's go see what he's up to. It's like, what? You're 6? You're seeing all this? It's ridiculous. Move forward. I want to show you guys some more. This is mentorship, right? This is a sponsorship tree. Watch this. Michelangelo. Another Ninja Turtle. Where did these great Ninja Turtles come from? Right? Wasn't that something to do with ooze? No, it wasn't ooze. It was an apprentice system in Florence, Italy. Wasn't this ooze? Come on, pay attention. They got it wrong in the movie. This is the reality. Michelangelo was mentored by Guardorio. See, we've got someone here that speaks the language, right? See, there's room for improvement for me. That's what I like to do. I like to recognize that I can still become better. Baldovinetti. This guy mentored this guy who mentored this guy. All the great ones, they came from somewhere. All the great ones came from somewhere. Who are you going to, maybe what would happen if you had Michelangelo on your second level? 20% check match. Do you guys see what happened? Imagine that. But I'm just telling you guys, it's about the mentoring. You got to mentor your brand new people and teach them the skill sets. Watch this as we move forward. I'm going to wrap this thing up like a taquito, but I think you might like this even great. This, we're going to talk a little bit about Zephyr competition team. They also known as the Z Boys, okay? And now, these guys were basically just surfers. Some of you guys saw the movie. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I read the book, and they talked about the movie in there. But these guys were surfers, right? Okay, you guys, have a lot of people out here that surf. And what happened was whenever the waves weren't great, they started to skateboard in pools. They found out something called skating on pools. No one had ever done this before. These guys started doing it, and they dominated the world of skating. They crushed it. And they came from nowhere because they found out about pool riding before everybody else. Whew. Watch this. Once pool riding came in, that's all we wanted to do, said Jay Adams, one of the Zephyr Z Boys. Do you guys see that? That's all they wanted to do. They just wanted to skate around in a pool. And they would actually sneak into people's houses And there was a drought going on. There was no pool. Imagine if you went home and you're like, what? Who drained my pool? And there's a bunch of dudes and they're skating around. The people experience that with these guys. But here's what happened. Now watch move forward. But you have to make decisions quickly, right, when you're riding in a pool, okay? This guy was the one who started all. This guy's name is Skip Ingblom, okay? Skip Ingblom is the co-founder of Zephyr Production Surf Shop. This is what he said. The day of the competition, I love this. The day of the contest, Jay was going against this pro skater. This guy was the man. He was the 5-time reigning champion or whatever. So he goes, Skip Ingblom went up to the big shot pro guy, okay, right where Jay could hear me, okay, and he said, I told him, don't worry about it, bud. This is what he told the guy. He said, don't worry about it, bud. You don't stand a chance. He says, then Jay went out there and smashed this guy. You guys see what he did? What did he say? What did he say? He told this skater guy, hey, look, you know what? This other guy that's supposed to win, dude, you don't stand a chance. But what was the message that Jay heard? Jay heard, I believe in you. I believe in you. You guys want to know how to develop leaders? You want to develop presenters? Believe in them. Believe that they can do it. Believe that they can myelinate their skill sets. But for crying out loud, believe in yourself, because you can control you. Woo! Look at that. Watch this. Oh, man, I can't wait for this one. I'm just going to touch on this one. This is called the KIP Foundation. Mike Feinberg and Dave Levin, the co-founders of KIP Knowledge and Power Program Foundation. That foundation, more than 87% of KIP students come from low-income housing. Okay, 93% of them go on into college. 87% of the alumni, 6.9 million, 800 alumni. It's amazing. Move forward. Watch this. This is what I think you'll like about the KIP. Here's their motto: work hard and be nice. It's a pretty good recipe for success. They have them all over, but they all come from low-income areas. He says the measure of success for KIP students is to attend college upon graduation. That's the yardstick. That's the yardstick for success. What would happen if your yardstick for success was not how many agents you have, but how many agents you get started that went to the conference? You get it? That's the deal. It's not about signing up people. We're not trying to fill up a binary tree. Do you guys get that? What we're trying to do is, guess what? Develop leaders. And the only way to develop leaders is get them an environment of growth. That's called the convention. So KIP, right, knowledge in power program, schools have a high expectation for their students to be successful. And everyone at KIP schools is determined to help these kids get into college. Everywhere you turn, the kids are reminded of their ultimate goal. Classrooms are named with the college that that particular teacher went to. Instead of going to Mrs. Smith's class, you're going to go to Stanford. Wow. Think about what they're doing. The baseline principle of student success at KIP is to come back to their motto: work hard and be nice. They crank out people into college like crazy. And they get kids, first day you go there, they don't ask them, hey, do you want to go to college? You are all, this is kindergarten, you are all going to college. They're straight up with them. And they make them say it. I am going to college. Like there's no debating. This is kindergarten, guys. They already know it. Watch what they do, right? They set that goal. So KIP works. Here's what we know for sure. You can't do a leadership training or a skills development training without having John Wooden show up. We invited him, wasn't able to make it, but his words are here. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. John Wooden's the greatest of all time in the history of the universe. Ronald Tharp, this guy's a researcher and psychologist. Obviously, Ronald Gallimore's PhD professor of psychiatry. In 1974, in fact, they studied John Wooden. They're from Hawaii, too, guys. Just so you guys all know. These guys are from Hawaii. They don't, I mean, so they look, they look like a bunch of Howley guys. But they're from Hawaii. Do you guys see that? That's where they were in. And they were here, and then they went to UCLA to study these guys. To study this dude, who's the greatest of all time. And they actually wrote this book called You Haven't Taught Until They've Learned. Watch this. Don't look, this is what John Wooden said, don't look for the big, quick improvements. Everybody's looking for that what? That big grand slam home run. He says, don't look for the big, quick improvements. Seek small improvements one day at a time. That's the only way it happens. John Wooden said, that's the only way it happens. Okay? And when it happens, it lasts. Woo, I like that. The importance of repetition until automatic cannot be overstated. Ooh, golly. The what? The repetition. The importance of repetition until it becomes automatic cannot be overstated. This guy is the greatest of all time in the history of ever. ever, when it comes to developing talent in coaching. John Wooden. And he says it's about those small improvements. It's every day getting a little bit better. Every day making some progress. Every day taking steps in the right direction. Every day making that progress. Watch what happens. Oh, golly. You got to talk about Tom Martinez. Oh, well, Tom's here. Tom Martinez. This guy is the coaching mentor for Tom Brady and John Elway. What? Here's what he says. It's not how fast you can do it. Watch this. It's not how fast you can do it. It's how slow you can do it correctly. Woo! It's how slow you can do it correctly. He goes, I flat out love coaching. There's something there that's real. You get your hands on it, and you can make somebody better than they were. He says, that's a hell of a feeling. We have to develop people. We've got to guys, look, man, some of you are still struggling with developing yourself. Hurry up and develop yourself so you can develop some others. You're over here trying to learn how to swim, and you got to teach others how to swim. Think about it, man. Think about how many people's lives you can impact and touch and change and help them. There's people out there right now with their hands up saying, hey, man, I wish someone would teach me how to become successful. And you're still wrestling with it. Get it done. Learn how to develop your skills so you can teach others. What are you going to do with the gifts that you've got? You've got the ability. You've got the capacity. You've got the resource. You have everything at your fingertips to win. All you got to do is decide that this is it. I'm going to step up. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to make it happen. I'm telling you right now, you got to say my family deserves it. Think about it. You got to think my family deserves it. I deserve it. The people that I'm leading that are going to get started, that are going to follow the tempo and the speed and the pace that I set. The people that are going to follow that haven't even seen this opportunity yet. They're going to get started and they're going to follow your lead. You've got to, you know what you have? You have an obligation, a responsibility to help those people succeed. So we've got to develop our skill set. We've got to improve our skill set. We've got to operate on the edge of our ability, man. We got to go day after day. We got to get after it so we can win and succeed and help others win and succeed in the process. So how many of you by now have a better understanding of this book? You guys see this one?